I graduated from high school in 1940, and the plan was to go to college, but I was only 16 at the time, and folks thought that I was too young to go to college, so they wanted me to wait at least a year. So I got a job as an apprentice in the apprentice program at GE, and they put me in the chemistry lab there, just to wash test tubes and that sort of thing. But they thought that I had some potential in learning some chemistry, so they sent me to Williams College that summer. They bussed us, 2 or 3 of us, up every day, and we took intensive training in analytical chemistry. That's one very narrow chemistry field. So when I finished that summer training, they let me actually do some analytical chemical analysis at the GE plant. Well, there were 9 graduate chemists there, PhDs in chemistry. 8 of them had graduated from the University of Michigan, and 1 was from Princeton University. He was the chairman of that department at GE. His name was Sam Ashley. I don't know if you remember him. Well, yeah, I worked there for a year, just doing chemistry. And then in the fall of the following year, in the fall of '42, I went to Michigan to enroll, and I was able to spend only 1 semester there because the draft, I would have been drafted. So I came home after 1 semester preparing to be drafted into the Army. But when I got home, I had an attack of acute appendicitis. So I had to go to the hospital, House of Mercy again. And in those days, they kept you for appendicitis, they kept you in the hospital for about 2 weeks. Now they get you up to the same day. But I was in the hospital for 2 weeks, and while I was there recuperating, Sam Ashley, the head of the chemistry department at GE, came in to visit me from time to time. And he knew that I was scheduled to go into the Army as soon as I got out of the hospital, so he said, "What would you think about going to Princeton University to work on a secret government project in doing some analytical chemistry?" I said, "What?" So he said, "I think I can arrange it for you. I know the chairman of the chemistry department down there." And so after I got out, took the train down to Princeton and met with the chairman of the chemistry department, and he explained as much as he could about what the job entailed, but it was just doing some simple analytical chemistry, which I had been trained for at the GE and Williams to do. Yet they had 9 PhD chemists working with me in this project. They hired me for the thing. I don't know if you recall, but they sent FBI and Secret Service to interview everybody that I had known, because it was a top
And you passed clearance even with Uncle Pete and Grandpa's your brothers?
I think Pop's probably sent them out of town for a while. But yeah, I got the job, and I think I was about 18 or 19 at the time. And actually, we're working on uranium, and we didn't know what we were working on. The Manhattan Project, which it turned out to be the atom bomb project.
Jess, do you know what that was, honey?
Was so fragmented that we speculated on what we were working on in the lab there, and we thought it might be some kind of a weapon that we could not even conceive of, or that we knew that uranium had radioactive properties and it might be used as a source of power, but how, we couldn't fathom. That was left up to the physicists. As it turns out, we were right on both counts, but in the reverse order, because we figured it was the power source that we were working on rather than the weapon. Ultimately, it was used for both purposes, but the weapon came first. And I didn't know what we were working on until the bomb actually dropped. And by that time, I was in the Navy. So I was in the Navy during World War II. But I could have sat out the war there at Princeton because of the nature of my work. But after a couple of years, I felt very uneasy about not being in the service because all my peers, all my buddies were in the service, and I felt guilty about not being there. So I went to Dr. Furman, the head of the department, and told him that I really felt I needed to be in the service and go ahead and be drafted. He said, well, if you apply for the draft, you're going to go in the Army, and what the Army is going to do is send you through basic training and send you right back here. Because the Manhattan Project was under the Army Corps of Engineers, and it was that they would find out what I'd been doing. I'd be there at a private's pay instead of the civilian pay that I was getting then. So I said, your only chance of getting the service is to go into another branch. So I volunteered for the Navy and got into the Navy. I wanted to go overseas, but they took one look at my record with all the secrets that I had, and they said, no, you cannot go overseas. So I got stuck. So I got stuck in the United States, and I did duty on Long Island and Miami Beach and Palm Beach and Bethesda, Maryland, and so on.
How long did you have to be sworn to secrecy?
Even after the bomb was dropped, the headlines, as soon as I read the headlines,
you knew?
That's what I was working on. And then shortly after that, I got a letter from the War Department and a certificate signed by Henry Stimson, who was Secretary of War then, now called the Secretary of Defense, thanking all of us, all 150,000 of us, for our efforts in developing the atom bomb, and warning us that we were still under absolute total secrecy. That's never been lifted, but unbeknownst to us, the Russians knew about it already.